What is up, all you GBA type people? This is Tom, and we are here with your Week 1 GBA Power Rankings. I am very excited, and I'm sure my
Co-host? I don't know.
co-host. There you go. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Danza, Crobat for the win.
And as always, we will be bringing you your power rankings each week. Now, as always, it's going to be a discussion, but with this new format, we have also brought you guys a new way that we'll be ranking each team. Now, last season, you might have been used to the Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, Master Ball ranks. This time around, it's going to be a little different. Um, we're going to start off at the bottom. Pokeball rank not going to change, but it's going to be six groups of two instead of like four. What was it? Four groups of three, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So it's gonna be six groups of two, bottom Pokeball, then you work your way up to Premier rank, Great rank, Ultra rank, Master rank, and your top two ranks will be Cherish. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit of a change up, but hey, new, it's refreshing, it's different. So with that being said, hey Danza, let's get started on our number 12 because as our audience can see, we agree at our bottom. So let's
Mm,
start from there.
Alrighty. My number 12 and your number 12. We both had Crimson. A lot of this stemmed from he just never really had any kind of momentum in that match. He kind of got destroyed this week by A Drive. A Drive played an excellent game. We'll talk about him later. Crimson specifically. He specifically said in his narration, and this is what I have a problem with. He doesn't want to use multiple of the same items. That's kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And in my opinion, he brought some questionable things against Chansey and Mega Sableye. I don't think he had any business bringing Chandelure, in all honesty. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, but especially against Chansey, I
Yeah,
didn't
I,
see
I
that being
can't
of
help but
value.
agree with that. I think it's absolutely preposterous. It's unthinkable to hurt you set yourself back so much by like saying I don't like bringing X, or I don't like bringing like this type of setter. In this case, leftovers. This game, you're to have a functionable and a usable wall, like especially with a team that has Skarmory and Clefable, you need leftovers, and you need to run them on both. I don't care how annoying it is. I don't care how, long the animation, whatever your reasoning is, you aren't helping yourself if you don't run multiple leftovers. That was pretty much the biggest reason that I had him so low. But my other issue is, you know, you bring Chandelure against a team that has Chansey, one of the most annoying walls, not even just special walls, just straight up annoying walls, right? And you
Mhm.
bring a Chandelure, and I did it have HP fighting on it?
I don't recall now.
If it didn't have HP fighting, but you're a Combine sub variant, like you're not. I mean, you can get it behind a sub and you could, start calm minding, but like without HP fighting, you're not helping yourself. So those are my two big issues. Besides that, Salic Skarmory, like I prefer Custap just because I see it's more effective. But Salic Skarmory, not the best idea. I don't know. There was just way too many flaws in all of his game planning, and when you watch the battle back, he never had a foothold. He never had a grasp on to really how to get a hold into Dan's team. You
Yeah.
saw that with how he used Mega Sableye and then Chansey, and he Dan never lost control, and that's the bottom line.
Mm.
So
And just to add a little more, I don't even. I can add more. Skarmory, I don't know why he honestly brought Skarmory. It didn't really do much for his team when its main role is to set up hazards. He knows he has Mega Sableye. Why do you need Skarmory?
well, I guess in his defense, if I recall correctly, in Dan's preamble, to his match, I
Yeah.
believe he said, or no, I'm sorry, Crimson's preamble to the match. I think he said, "Oh, I'm surprised he didn't bring Terrakion." Now, yeah, okay, I get that. Terrakion can okay, I think a close combat, if it's banded, does like 50%, like 48%. I'm pretty sure it's close to two-shotting with rocks up, but outside of that, you look at the team. It has Volcarona. It has Nidoqueen. It even has, Rotom Wash, and yeah, that's pretty much as far as I'm going to go with that. But with those in mind, Like, are you really going to bring a Skarmory to against a team that has all those things that can not only, you know, hit it with maybe not a super effective move, but then hit it with a super effective move? Like, what are you accomplishing by bringing Skarmory? I agree with you. I didn't really see the utility. So, like, that's why he's the lowest for both of us.
No, not a question. That it's just all that combined, and then once again, the nail in the coffin was the whole item remark about how he didn't want to use the same item twice.
I guess, Danza, for you, just this is week one. What do you want to see, him do different for next week and moving forward?
First thing, obviously, don't be afraid to use two leftovers, even three. You know what? That's what the comments are going to be comment sections. They're going to say item clause, item clause. There's no item clause in the GBA, and
There
there's a
isn't.
reason for it. So I'd like to see him not be afraid to use multiple of the same item. And next, I'd like to see him not be afraid with experimentation. Don't be afraid to use things that are among the lower tiers. Like, honestly, I don't know, maybe even Claydol could have found some use this week. You knew he was going to bring Mew. Claydol matches up decently well against Mew because Mew's going to be a stealth rocker. Mew's going to Volt Switch. Mew's going to have Psychic. Claydol absorbs all of that.
That's
Uh,
very true.
and I'd like to see a little more, honestly, Volt turn action. Jolteon, I don't think he brought that this week.
No.
No, he did not. I know he has Nidoqueen, but if he just brought an HP Ice and had some Volt turn action going, I'd like to see Jolteon.
Yeah,
That
I
that's
mean,
those are my changes for him.
I guess with me is don't be afraid to really grasp down, get deep in that roster. If you need to run, I'm not saying on Chandelure, but if you need to, run mix sets, you need to, augment it to the point where like you're running, hidden power fire or something on Skarmory. The point is, don't be afraid to take those risks. This is not just your normal Wi-Fi battling. Get fancy. Get not fancy unnecessarily, but really really get deep. You really got to try. So,
Mm-hmm.
moving up, uh, you guys also, like I said, you guys are seeing our rankings as we're explaining them. Our 10 and 11 are swapped, but they are the same names. So, Danza, explain why you have Nips at yeah,
10.
10 and I have them at 11. So you start.
Oh, the thing with Nips is that I just didn't really see how his team went together this week to go against Miguel. I feel like he completely overlooked Hydreigon, and that's not a good thing that a coach should do. He shouldn't be overlooking big threats like that. Um, After that, I just it was really tough because he just wasn't making many great plays, and as a result, he kind of lost big time. 4-0 is kind of a big deal in this game. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
A 4-0 is hard to claw back on, especially week one. My issue is his team. Um, it was a mix of his plays, and it was also a mix of his team composition. I'll start with the latter. You look at his team comp because I have his six mons right in front of me. You have Magnezone, Blaziken, Quagsire, Mandibuzz, Rachi, and Mega Altaria. Right now, he never really got a foothold into Miguel's team to start, but the main composition of his team is very wally. Like you have, I think I'm pretty sure that Rachi was it scarfed or was it defensive? I can't
I
really
believe
tell.
it was defensive.
Okay, so they like, hey, I predicted that. You put Rachi in a defensive role because he needed it. Mandibuzz, I've already explained my thoughts about Mandibuzz in this type of format. And then Quagsire, and then he had no wiggle room outside of that. And I say that especially because, Mega Altaria can only like once it starts setting up, once you either see the D dance or you see the hyper voice, it does one or does the other. Um, and then Magnezone obviously is your trapper. To extend from those two specifically, setting up first turn with Mega Altaria with Cotton Guard when you see Miguel has a Florges and a Doughblade, and then on the opposite side you see he had a Balloon Magnezone with Magnet Pull that also had
Magnet
Magnet
Rise, you
Rise.
mean?
Like I understand the utility because yeah I have ran Magnet Rise not with a balloon though, like it's one or the other. It's either you have a balloon and then you use it offensively or you use Magnet Rise but you have it defensively with leftovers because there's no benefit to having both. If he thought so, then it's well beyond my realm of understanding. But hey, he had no way of creating pressure and no means of really getting into Miguel's team with the way that he just built his team. That's it.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like he kind of created an environment where Miguel basically just had to show up, click a couple
Oh yeah,
buttons, send
exactly.
Hydreigon out, and he won. That was about it. That was pretty much the game. Uh,
I'm pretty sure even if he did kill more than two things, all Megalop had to do was just, if it did Mega Evolve already, Mega Evolve, go for Fake Out, get off massive damage, and then kill it with, return or a high jump kick. Like, that was pretty much how that game went. And even seeing, Dark Pulse from that Hydreigon do so much that Blaziken, yes, it was a crit. That was amazing to me.
hmm. Yeah, and I'm honestly just looking at everything on the Reggie Rockies team with a little prior damage. A high jump kick or a return does massive damage, probably two hit KOs or OKOs, everything. I
Yeah.
don't know to what extent he was thinking about Mega Lopunny as a threat. I don't see enough planning there. I would have liked to have seen something that would be able to deal with Mega Lopunny much better, and Hydreigon, but once again, I guess he didn't even expect it to be brought for some reason.
Right. I guess, my advice to him for the future is I feel like he played that match without much real like creative and thorough planning, not match wise, turn to turn. I felt like the first thing that he said in his live narration was the immediate reaction to what he did in the game. It wasn't like, oh, he can't switch into this. It was, I'm gonna go for Dark Pulse. I'm gonna go for Thunderbolt right here, or whatever whatever he was planning on, like whatever he had set his mind on first to do was what he went for. Yeah, it kind of worked out once or twice, but besides that, it wasn't effective. I feel like he has to get a better grasp on how to plan and then a better grasp on how to really, know your options and know what their options are. Really, really know that.
Right.
But
Hmm. And my number 11 was actually. Well, we can probably just move on. Did you have anything else?
no, that's it. I was actually about to transition.
Okay. Yeah, my number 11 was Top. Obviously, you had Top at 10. What did you think about Top?
I'm gonna give Tup. This is my like safety card, my first safety card. I know it's only week one, but I'm gonna give him my benefit of the doubt. Um, you know, I had a bit of an insight on Tup's team. I think he planned, and I like that he planned. But there were just small gripes that I had with his team. It sucks getting 6-0'd. I have unfortunately felt the wrath of Cooper 6-0, extravaganza. I'll own up to that. My one advice before I say any of this is, keep your head up. That's all I'm going to say to him. He knows what he did and he knows what he didn't do. Just learn from it and move on. Week one is over. Just keep on pushing.
Yeah,
Looking
definitely.
at his team, he had really two or three physical attackers. Not only that, but each one of his physical attackers was directly handled by basically Vaporeon. Like that's just the bottom line. I'm sorry, Vaporeon or Zapdos, because Crobat can't really touch Zapdos, even if it has cross poison. Like it's
Yeah,
not
it's
going to
not
do
gonna.
that much. And then Hitmontop has the same problem that Scissor has. It doesn't necessarily have the capability of taking out Zapdos because Zapdos can paralyze and then it can stall you out of Stone Edge or Rock Slide, and then Azumarill, not only does it get outsped if it doesn't have the right type of speed investment, but it can't really touch Vaporeon without the risk of the burn, and that's exactly what happened. And yeah, it's really unfortunate, but once Azumarill got burned, I could just feel, Tup's, capability of winning just deflate, almost instantly, right? You would agree with that?
Yeah, and that's kind of unfortunate. Honestly, I give Tup an A for effort. I
Yeah, me too.
really feel like he tried to plan this week. It was just his first experience getting his feet wet in the GBA, and it was definitely one he's not going to forget. I think he overcomplicated his planning. Although, like I said, I give him credit for trying, and that's great. I expect him to get better because there's nowhere to go but up at this point. You can't get worse than a 6-0 week one.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think he's going to learn from it, and I don't expect him to stay down here for too long. Once again, I'll give him the safety card. I'll give him a pass because it is apparent he tried. It is apparent he put some thought into it. We can question maybe some thoughts were wrong. I guess if he got 6-0, I guess most of them were, but that's okay. He's gonna prove himself, or he has the chance to in the next few weeks. And that was basically why I had Top at 11 because at the current it didn't look very good. But like I said, I haven't given up on him.
Yeah, neither have I. I think maybe my one big gripe was that he put Psychic over Psyshock on a team on Mega Alakazam against a team that had a Blissey. Kind of bizarre to me. Even Megazam was kind of a stretch with something like Lucario with that priority bullet punch, and PZ too. But hey, we said what we had to say. He'll learn. At least we hope he does. And look, you know what? There's nowhere to go from up. Nowhere to go but up from here. So I'm gonna take the role in this one. Both of us have Gio at number 9. I think Gio's match that was it was a little hacksy. That match was very very there were bad mistakes that weren't made up, but they were padded by bad hacks. And specifically, Geo had the hacks. Like that turn one air slash flinch, Hank missing Hurricane with Torn T, and then it was returned with the Mega Horn miss from Scolipede. But the issue is, like, without that hacks, I think that Geo would have lost much worse. Again, this is Geo's first time playing as well as Hank's. Well, Hank's been in the league before, but I think that Hank didn't really have a rough time maintaining the control that he had set. I really think that after he had, well, there was a DC in that match, right?
Yes, there was.
Right. The DC in that match, I think right before that, when Mega Swampert, or after that, I don't really recall. When Mega Swampert had gone for a rock slide over the Earthquake against the Moongus, that was the end of it. Like before that, I can kind of see a small chance for him to come back, for Geo to kind of either like lessen, like uh, lessen his losses, in terms of differential, or somehow get a foothold back onto the winning side. But after that, like that game was over. Your thoughts, because I'm starting to ramble.
No, that's all right. You actually stated quite a lot of what I was thinking. I feel like because it was only because of hacks, Geo had a good start to that game. It was kind of the air slash flinch, obviously the hurricane miss, and he was already up basically 6-4 or whatever it was.
Right.
Only half a dozen turns in or whatever. And I really feel like that would be. It's kind of tough to say, okay, the gods, the Pokemon hacks gods, gave you a gift in this type of hacks. Shouldn't you be cashing that to the bank? He obviously didn't. He blew a 6-4 lead or 5-4 lead or whatever it was, and that was I think kind of one of the most disappointing things I've seen. The fact that he ended up losing 3-0 after he had such a big lead. I find that to be a bit of a tough pill to swallow. Do I think he'll bounce back? Yeah, I think he will, because he definitely still has a threatening team. And I think he's still getting used to it. There's no question about it. Obviously, when you're just getting started, it's always tough. Pokemon you're not used to. But, once again, when you're given a gift like that, I mean, I guess I can't be totally hard on him, but it's so tough not to say, how could you not use it well enough?
Yeah, the equivalent is like getting an interception at like the 10-yard line and then scoring a field goal. Like there's no excuse. Um, I guess my only thing really for him is you gotta play better. I'm putting him higher than the three names we have mentioned prior, solely because I think his match, well, Hank's side, but his match was the first one that had gone up. Right, the match went
Yeah.
up at 12 o'clock. I watched it, right at about 1 o'clock ish, Eastern Standard Time, and you know what? I enjoyed the match, but it was the least critical that I could really discuss overall. So, you know what? I gotta see next week. I do. I have to. I really need to see some improvement.
Mm.
Bottom line.
No,
So
definitely.
let's talk about 7 and 8, since you and I again are switched.
Ooh, a lot of tense disagreements here. No, I'm just kidding. We'll agree to disagree slightly, ever so
Exactly.
slightly. All right, at my number 8 spot, I had Dan A Drive. He moved up a nice 3 from the last rankings because he really went to town this week. I thought he planned very well. I liked some of his sets. Trick Scarf Mew, for example, was a pretty much custom set that was excellent. I liked his Nidoqueen build. I thought that he made some great predictions. Nidoqueen going for Flamethrower is number 3 on the Best of the Best this week. This is being uploaded after the Best of the Best, so it makes sense. Just saying.
I was waiting for you to mention that.
Yep. So he ends up getting in there, and that once again, excellent prediction. He goes for Trick on a Clefable later in the game. I really liked that. Once again, I thought this was a huge step forward for Dan, and it was one that I wasn't sure he was going to be able to do, but it was definitely a step forward. He still will have a problem with people are basically going to say, oh, there are only 9 things that he'll be able to use, maybe. Basically, something like that. He's not going to use everything every week. You can kind of predict him easily. But if he can get around that problem, then I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up a little more.
You know what? I have to agree with all that. Dan really surprised me. Like I know that I bashed the hell out of his team when we had our pre-draft and post-draft power rankings. I questioned his team building. I questioned his playing. And you know what? I'll take all that back for now. For now, there's always a chance for him to go back the other way. But you know what? That Mega Sableye and Chansey Core, stupid annoying. I'm glad I don't have to face that. But outside of that, you said it. The Nidoqueen build was awesome. The Nidoqueen prediction with the flamethrower was awesome. Trick Mew, all fantastic, fantastic plays. Nothing but praise from me to Dan. I think that he if he plays like this week in and week out and doesn't even have to bring in his setup sweeper, you know what? He's set. I think he has a great shot in his own division and in the league as a whole because you know what? You're a veteran. You kind of have a familiarity over the other 6 other teams and work with that. Bottom line, he did
Yeah.
a great job, and that's praise from me this week, and I hope I can continue to do that.
And let's just for statistical purposes, he's played in 6 games total in the GBA. He's won 3 of them, so he's got a 50% win record.
I was one of those losses. Well, I beat him, so he lost to me.
Yeah. So certainly, starting out with a 1-0, he's moving in the right direction. That's for sure.
Exactly.
All right.
So then above him, we have good old Steve. Good old Steve. It was a toss-up for me, or actually, he's above. You have Steve above him. I have Steve below him.
Mm.
Um, Steve for me this week it was a toss-up between the two. I'm putting Dan ahead of him because Dan just impressed me. Steve is below because did you happen to catch the number on that straw poll as between
80 something percent favored.
right,
It was
exactly.
very heavily favored. It was around 80%.
Yeah, okay. Steve out-teamed Mulvone. Like it wasn't, he had oh, we like him better. I feel like some straw polls are like that. But he out-teamed Mulvone, and from team preview, you look at a team that has Suicune, Mega Gardevoir, Arcanine, one of my favorite mons to use in this format, Latios and Lando T against a team that, has those threats, but they're just not as catastrophic if you're asking me. So just looking at that, I think Steve really dropped the ball. I think he made a handful of good plays. I know you're going to say this with Yachi Lando and knocking off the Toxorb off of Gliscor. Great plays, fantastic. However, he didn't handle the threats with what he had planned to bring. Weavile, for example. Weavile can't really handle Arcanine when it's at -1 after Intimidate. It can go for Night Slash if you had it and hope for the crit, right? But outside of that,
Mm.
Arcanine does a great job at handling Weavile. It can burn it, it can Morning Sun all over it. I know Steve wasn't running Will-O-Wisp on, Arcanine this week, and personally, I think that's not a good. Don't do that again. Don't you? If it's defensive role, run Will-O-Wisp, and then not only that. The turn where he had Suicune in against Weavile, or where he brought Suicune in against Weavile, I think he should have, if he could somehow maneuver it, switch out, go to Latios, get the defog off, even if it costs him Latios, to ensure that Suicune can take on Weavile, because the only reason that Weavile KO'd Suicune was because of the spikes.
Right.
That to me was what killed Steve. Like, he had a chance before that, but he made the wrong play. Um, so that's it. You go, because
Okay. Oh, Steve, you had so much potential
you
going into,
did.
and he kind of just fell short. I mean, I give the man an A for effort. He got some great sets together, and he made it into the top 5 best plays of the week. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, right.
So there were a few plays in particular that really sealed his fate. A few less than ideal plays, because I really think, like you said, he did out team him. Really,
Hmm.
I think that, for example, if he had saved Arcanine for Weavile, like you said, he would have fared better. I don't know where the Sawsbucks will go from here. I know that their hearts and minds are in the right place. It'll take a little bit of tweaking with his gameplay. They have a tough match this week and a tough road ahead. So if they can win this week and make a loud statement against Hank, then I would be I wouldn't be hesitant to put them up higher. But for now, I got to keep them.
Oh yeah, of course. I entirely agree with that. That yeah, basically just if he makes some better plays, why not move him up? So let's talk about his opponent, shall we?
Oh, good. Mulvone. Alrighty. Just in general, Mulvone he kind of just moved up a little bit because really he beat Steve.
Yeah, he won.
We all expected Steve to win. The fans expected Steve to win overwhelmingly. He proved us wrong, and you know what? He still brought a pretty decent team, even though you could say he was out teamed at team preview. The way he played it, some of the plays he made, the way he played Dragalge at a critical time
Yeah,
to
exactly.
beat Arcanine, that was really important. And he's got Weavile and even Fortress with 2 KOs. So
Hmm.
that just goes to show you that he's got offense in unexpected places. So I think that is a testament to his first week in the league, and I think it was a success on many levels. Yeah, maybe he brought a little bit standard of stuff, and you know what? If he doesn't bring any variety going forward, we'll dock him down. But for now, for week 1, I was pleasantly surprised to see how well Mulvone did, considering my kind of low expectations starting into the season.
Oh yeah, we did really knock him. All three of us, Adam included, we did knock him for his picks because we saw these holes. We maybe saw Fortress didn't have its perfect utility, but hey, he proved it. He really did. Sucks that his goal score didn't get the toxic heal up before the toxic score got knocked off, but I think Steve knocking off the choice specs on Dragalge was probably way more beneficial for him than Steve had knocking off that power, because obviously adaptability is huge, but it gave him that opportunity to predict that Arcanine switch and go for the Hydro Pump. On
Right.
the same token, though, is there anything on his team that wanted to take a Specs Sludge Wave?
Hmm.
No.
I don't think so. Not really.
Electros could have outsped, but he didn't have anything super effective to hit him with. Like he said, if he went for Volt Switch on the Dragalge, might have been a different story. But
Yeah.
what was he going into that wasn't taking over 50%, right?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing maybe on his team as a whole, not his 6 guys this week, Muck might have been able to deal with Dragalge. That's the only thing I can see that
Yeah,
really could have taken it on well.
that's true. But I think that if anything, the Loud Reds made a good example this week. Yeah, Steve didn't draft Steel type. He didn't quite find the utility of having a Steel type. But this team kind of made an example as when you don't have that last piece to a really good core, because he had the other two. He had the Dragon Fairy. When you don't have that last piece, it really does show sometimes. When he mixed that with his other offensive threats like Weavile, Mega Manectric, he just did whatever he needed to do in terms of just maintaining that control. So, props to the Loud Reds. Hope to see you keep moving forward. Just, keep that drive. Don't get complacent and don't get boring. Keep pushing the envelope in a good direction.
Mm, no, definitely, definitely. All right. Oh, this is an exciting one.
Oh
We
yeah, yeah.
we both had Shady at number 5. This was a huge jump for him. I moved him up 4 spaces because I was just so impressed, and
Yeah,
Tom moved him up a few
I
as
was
well.
very impressed too.
Wow. Uh, he proved that he can plan to succeed. A huge step forward. He captured best of the best play of the week. I don't even know if I need to say more than that. But obviously, I will. But that just, in and of itself, Miracle Milotic saved the game for him and rid
Yeah,
it
it
of
did.
John's biggest threat, Raikou, the Scarf Raikou that pretty much would have wrecked the rest of his team. Great thinking on Shady's part, and I honestly expect Miracle Milotic to remain best of the best until I'm forced to retire it like the legendary butt fumble.
I'm a
Just
Jets
saying.
fan. I'm a Jets fan. Can you please?
Sorry. Alright, I noticed Shady exploring his Pokemon's options and versatility, which I thought was great. His Elf set, for example. It took out Mega Venusaur, had U-turn. I really liked that mixed set he had. And I really liked his physically defensive Garchomp in order to absorb attacks from Entei. Yes, it got burned, it didn't do very much, but I think that alone shows that he really did think outside the box, a trend I want to see him continue to remain in the top half of the rankings. Back to Shady in general, is the Shady problem gone? I guess I can't say with absolute certainty that it is, but this week certainly indicated that I think he's putting it behind him. Even his speeches at the beginning, those were pretty cool. I think that he's putting more effort in now,
I
definitely.
like those a lot.
Yeah, I mean, his effort doesn't guarantee wins, but it certainly puts him in a good place for them if the problem is gone. And he has a pretty powerful team to back it up. We can't doubt that.
No, not at all.
And do I think he can keep it up? Absolutely.
When he put all the pieces together, like we looked at his roster, we analyzed his roster, and when we looked at it, like yeah, there were good chunks that we liked, and there were ones that we didn't like. But when he showed it in practicality and he played this week, you know what? I like you said, nothing but impressed. He planned, he played, and he really did show us that there is the capability that he could, make really good plays and plan really well when he takes the time out to do so. You know, you said it. Miracle Melodic. It's funny now. I've used Conkeldurr in this format, and Conkeldurr with an Assault Vest, when you plan to have it with an Assault Vest and without an Assault Vest, are two completely different mons. It's kind of incredible, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I think that was kind of funny just looking at that, and not only from there, if the battle had gone more in John's favor, for example, say Raikou had never had gotten KO'd, him losing Honchkrow so early could have been potentially hazardous. Honchkrow was really his only check to Raikou. Um, the trade Yuxi for Honchkrow was good at the moment, potentially volatile, and I'm glad it worked out for for the betterment Shady. This was the first battle I think in a very long time that I've watched of Shady's, and I'm very pleased to do so because this kind of motivates me to continue watching. Thank God for 2x speed on long videos. Am I right?
oh yeah.
But I love the commentary. My one gripe I guess for him this week, um, he second guesses himself a lot, and he gets really emotional when he really deep down doubts what he's doing. I say if he plays more with just guttural instinct, I think he'll do better. If he plays more from his heart and less from like letting his mind take over and letting this, oh, well, what if this happened? No, no, no. Let that go and, be safe, but still take those risks, those
Yeah.
necessary risks, not.
And don't be afraid to use the middle road.
Right, exactly.
That's one of the things I know you've been known to
Oh,
do.
yeah, yeah, that's like my bread and butter. Don't take the risk if you don't have to. But hey, if the risk is there and you don't really, have a setback, if you do it. I guess just going into the future, don't get complacent, and I will look forward to your match every single week. Viewers as well. I read the comments a little bit.
All right. So I think we're going to transition on.
Transition.
Yay. This is a great transition, by the way. Okay. So we've got yet another very, very tough disagreement here, and we're probably going to be yelling and screaming at it. No, we're not going to do that. But I
No, the
have
comments will
John
be
at
yelling and
4.
screaming.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're probably going to start yelling and screaming. I got John at 4 and Miguel at 3, while Tom has Miguel at 4 and John at 3. Tom, would you like to explain your thoughts on Miguel?
Okay. I think that John losing 1-0 is more impressive than Miguel winning 5-0 or 4-0, 4-0.
4-0. Yeah.
I think solely because I think all Miguel had to do was just play very bread and butter, very, cut and dry, no special plays. Yeah, the crit kind of helped later in the match that kind of broke through his team with High Dragon. But outside of that, there wasn't really a time that Miguel, I felt like he was stressed to really play, better. Not to say he didn't play well. That is not what I'm saying at all. He plays fantastically, he plans fantastically, and again, his matches I never really watched before. Thank God for 2x speed. But I enjoyed his commentary, I enjoyed his breakdown, and I enjoyed the way he played. He didn't have to take that many risks. I do think that grass knot on Thunderous was kind of a setback. If he had it, the game would have been over and probably a pseudo 6-0. Would you think it would have been closer to a 6-0?
I think it probably at least a 5-0.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Would have been more in his favor because of the matchup that he had, and then after he killed Quagsire with the grass knot,
Right.
what really came in to take those thunderbolts or whatever else he had. So those are my thoughts. Again, positive directions. All you gotta do, and he showed up week one. Just keep that momentum.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with that at all. I guess it's just a slight personal disagreement there in a lot of ways. Uh, I feel like Miguel, yeah, obviously he barely had to show up this week. He had a great matchup on paper, and he executed pretty well. He knew that High Dragon was his win condition, and I think that just solely because he recognized that as his win condition, he played to it. He won because of it. I think that gives him a bit of an edge over John. I feel like John didn't. He sacked his win conditions earlier
Way
than he
too
should
early.
have, and I feel like Miguel didn't do that. So that was kind of why I put Miguel at 3 as opposed to John at 4. I give Miguel props for using wish support as well, and Sandforce Moto
And
mode.
doing it well too. Like he actually was successful with it. It's very rare to see that.
Hmm. And it worked out really well for him. He made the top 5. He was number 5 on my list. So that whole laundry list of plays there, from the wish to nearly KOing Mega Altaria, that was excellent playing on his part.
Oh yeah. Just to talk, I'm not going to talk much about John. He it was this is a setback week. He'll move on from it. I did like seeing him using Yuxi, kind of like how he used Deoxys defense last season, the past 2 seasons. Yeah, 2 seasons, whatever.
Yeah,
Um, I like Deoxys. In this league, it's really good, but seeing Yuxi have being a bulky psychic type with hazards and status, it was cool to see, frankly. And besides that, I do obviously he can't heal as well, but I'm excited to see how he uses his team in the future. We know he has a good team. It's just all about better. I can't remember the word. Just play better. That's the bottom line. Play better.
yeah. I just think if he has to make a couple different plays, a couple different
Execution.
choices, just imagine. Think about this. What if he clicked Volt Switch instead of Thunderbolt against that Milotic? And what if he switched into Sylveon, which he didn't really need at that point in the match?
Right. That's a good point. But I mean, hey, how often do you really expect mirror coat on a melodic? I know it's the
Yeah.
GBA, but how often do you expect that?
I guess you really don't. That's
No.
something that's pretty difficult to predict. You know, that's something that came out from left field. I would have never seen it, and I'm also almost as experienced. Well, I guess a little bit more experienced than John at the GBA. I never would have seen that.
Oh yeah, me either. I would have just been I would have been happy pressing that T-bolt button like, yeah, I win, I win, I win. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, who really thinks that an electric type versus a water type? Who sees the water type winning?
I mean, hey, listen, if you're, in like our caliber, veteran caliber, like I'm sure the small voice in your head really does say, what if he has mirror code? But then, the logical point and the excited part of clicking that A button as fast as you possibly can really does get the best of you. So props to Shady and John will bounce back, I hope.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's a question that he will. He is too threatening of a team and too good of a battle Pokemon playing mind to not bounce back.
And he's hungry. He's really hungry, so he wants it.
Yeah.
So, um, Hank, number 2.
Ooh.
We already talked about this. His battle was padded by hacks. Um, we have him at number two. He's very high. Specifically, I liked one of his sets. Danza, please tell me the set that you liked. You
Hmm.
know,
I really love that HP Electric Alma
there
Mama.
you go.
I
There you
don't
go.
think there's any question about it. I guess second place goes to HP Fire Amoongus, but HP Electric Alma Mamola saved him the game pretty much. He was already really down. That Gyarados was setting up, and it just had a Lumberry to cure its burn. But HP Electric two-hit KO'd at that point, and Alma Mamola's defense plus that attack ended up KOing the Gyarados and really turned the tides in that game. And I thought that was excellent. There was no question about that. Obviously, he had a slight problem with he misgened or he made a mistake in his what is it called? Thunder? No, land. Bleh.
Tornadoes.
Tornadus Tea, thank you. Didn't have U-turn when he wanted it, and he was obviously hacked against very heavily. I can't knock him for that, but I will admit he managed to realize his win conditions very early to get Stealth Rocks up, and he did eventually play to it. And in general, he used, like I said, hidden power very well. HP Fire Moongus, big fan of HP Electric Alma Mamola. That speaks volumes about how he prepares in this format, and I think that's why he's one of the top contenders in this league. He should have probably won 4 or 5-0, so I can essentially say that he won by a big margin, not just 3-0. Um, the fact that he can use all these hidden powers, it's always going to make people guessing in the future. Is his Ola Momola running HP Rock to beat Talonflame? Is his I don't know, Mega Swampert running some sort of random hidden power just for something else? I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. That's why I think Hank is really dangerous.
I guess with me, and this is kind of I'm gonna pick on Gio for a second. I think the success of the Alamomola really came out of the Gyarados set, and I say that because of this. The set, I assume, because he had won for Stone Edge twice, right? It was Stone. He went for Stone Edge twice
Yes.
against the
Yes.
Alamomola. Yeah, I see the Stone Edge usability. I don't see like he could have had Earthquake, which was a higher base power. Uh, no, it's not.
No, it's not, but better
No, it's not.
accuracy.
Right, exactly. He could have went for the earthquake. And if he did have earthquake, shame on me. But even if he did have waterfall, I don't quite see the utility of having waterfall when a lot of Hank's team didn't really get hurt with waterfall or as compared to like earthquake. So that was a little weird to me because that kind of set up to really let Alamola shine because outside of that, Alamola pretty much walled Gyarados to hell and back, um, especially if it burned it, right? Because he
Yeah.
burned the Lumberry immediately. But outside of that, Hank, no problem maintaining control. Yes, the U-turn on Torrentine not having it, that definitely did hurt. I thought that was very strange when he was breaking down the team because, I listened to most of it. I didn't listen to him talking all the way about his team when he was in the beginning of his video. But I checked out the sets, and when he had scrolled by Tornadus T, I'm like, no U-turn? That's kind of bizarre because it's kind of a staple. The
Right.
Hurricane Mist kind of sucked. Run Air Cutter or HP Bird, that's basically like the bottom line of that one. But good showing for Hank. I think it was a little sloppy. He can only move up or down. We'll see.
Yeah, and he's got a crucial game against Steve this week. If he wants to stay in this spot, he basically has to put a good showing on,
Yeah,
preferably a win. But if he wants to stay here, he's got to get at least a good showing.
but it's minor. It's minor fine tuning this time around. It's not like big picture or adjustments.
No, he's a big threat, and there's no question about it. And
Oh,
like
no
I said,
question.
hidden powers, just the fact that you see him managing hidden powers so well, always are going to keep people on their toes.
Exactly. So we're gonna go back to number three real quick because that's where Cooper wants to be.
Are you sure it wasn't? I thought it was like 14 or 13.
13. Well, he wants a
So we,
three, and he wants a three in it. So we're gonna at our rank 1.3 spot. We have Cooper. Um, we both saw Cooper shine this week for very obvious reasons, right?
yeah. At 1.3, how could he not?
Yeah, right. Not 1.0 though. It's too high.
No, no, we can't put him there. He
No,
doesn't
no,
like
no. It
that.
needs the three.
Also, don't subscribe to Cooper. He doesn't.
Yeah,
He doesn't want you to.
guys, if you're sub to Cooper, unsubscribe. Take his channel, put it in your favorites, and leave it there every week. Don't subscribe to him. So, moving on from that, Cooper in control the entire time. There is nothing else to say about that. He had that match locked up. Lock and key, throw away the keys, whatever. He had Tup figured out. He didn't even have to use his like setup mon, or even his fast special sweeper and Whimsicott. Um, I faced a team with Zardex and Whimsicott. Those are the main threats, but not even have to use them and just slowly let your walls do the work. That's super impressive to me. Danza, what do you think?
I feel like it's just impressive enough that he managed to get Lucario to get 3 KOs
Yeah,
against a team that has Hitmontop, Crobat, Azumar, and Azumarill
yeah,
on the same team. How on earth does that happen? I don't know. Especially Crobat, because Lucario doesn't typically beat Crobats. Obviously, the fighting resistance and all. I just feel like Cooper completely and utterly dominated this week. And in a lot of ways, I said I was underwhelmed with his draft. But you know what? That was earlier. And I maybe to an extent I still kind of am, but how am I putting him at number one? That's kind of hypocritical. I think he's going to use it so well that I'll just be flat out wrong. That
yeah.
that's the way
That's
he used it this week. That's the impression I got this
I
week.
mean, hey, if his team is like pure fourth gen featuring Whimsicott and Zardex. You know what? If that really works for Cooper, and you know what, if that's really what gets him by with his familiarity, hey man, run with it. I can't knock it. I think it's fantastic. I think his week this was fantastic. My favorite. What were your favorite matches this week to watch, Danza?
Hmm. I'll probably say John versus Shady was the most entertaining because it was so close, and I thought obviously there was the best of the best play in it. I jumped for joy when I saw Shady use Mirror Coat because I was once again I had always been a doubter of Shady, maybe not a doubter, but I was always skeptical. That's a good way of
Exactly.
putting it,
Yeah,
and he
skeptical.
kind of dispelled some of that skepticism, and I felt good about that.
Yeah.
It was just a great match overall. And I also did enjoy Steve's match. I know that he just had a few shortcomings, but I got to see him put some good work in, and I saw Mulvone, obviously, he put some work in as well. So those are the
Yeah,
two I was definitely surprised about, but I definitely enjoyed watching.
I think I enjoyed watching Shay's match the most in terms of just being on the edge of my seat and really enjoying turn to turn. But I did enjoy Cooper's breakdown. His familiarity really shows with how he plays and how he plans. So for this week, this is something I want to do. Our biggest movers for Danza and I. Danza's biggest mover was Shady and Cooper at 4 up. Mine was Dan at moving 5 up. And our biggest drops, well, you have 3 people, 4 people dropping down 3 spots. I have one dropping down at 5. So, any closing thoughts, Danza?
Not too much. I just looking out for week two. It's a little obviously a bit early to be able to accurately predict the playoffs, but I think we're gonna have a better picture as we get beyond week five for sure.
Oh yeah, this was a fine tune adjustment as compared to our pre-draft, post-draft power rankings, but those were fun. This is where like the real meat and potatoes is,
Oh,
and
definitely.
I'm gonna enjoy doing this every week with you. I mean, this is gonna be fun.
I'm not a question. It's gonna be a lot of fun to do this summer. Once these AP exams are over, I'm just psyched. So,
Yeah, I'll be working more, but hey, I'm going to enjoy working this summer. So, with that being said, I hope all of you enjoyed this 49-minute rambling between us. Any comments, any questions, anything you want to tell us, put your rankings in the comment section down below. I go through them, and I know Danza goes through them, and whoever else that's in, our group of analysts, they look through them. So, hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys next week, same time and place. Check that out when it comes up. Check this out when it comes out. And Danza, sign off.
alrighty, guys. Danza and Tom signing off. Have a good one.
Later, guys.